Welcome to Unscripted Startups. I'm your host, Cameron Stack, here in the beautiful Silicon Slopes, Utah. Today I'm joined with Tim Cooley. He is the author of Find Your Killer Idea, which is available on Amazon now. And he's also the general manager of The Mill, a unique twist on co-working space here in Sandy, Utah. Thanks for coming on the show, Tim.
Thanks for having me.
So I wanted to talk a little bit more about your experience and share with me about The Mill and about the previous projects you worked on.
Yeah, so The Mill is a co-working space in Sandy, Utah. Our focus is really on business incubation. So we're currently working with about 95 different companies, ranging from marketing, sales coaching, to medical devices, and full-on SaaS platforms. And our goal is to really provide the resources that they need. The entire building The Mill is set in is the Business Resource Center. And so anybody has access to the Small Business Development Center, SCORE, and a whole bunch of other resources all in one building, which makes us kind of unique.
That sounds super incredible. So tell me, when did you find out that you were interested in the entrepreneurship or like business stuff? Like, when was that moment that you're like, I really like business?
Yeah, so I've always been interested in, I didn't know I was interested in entrepreneurship. I didn't know that was a word.
Yeah.
So when I was little, shoveling snow and making money doing that kind of stuff, my mom started an office when she's a doctor, started an office, and then we would help with that. One of my teachers was like, hey, I have this idea for promoting our auditorium, so I helped him with that. And then as I went through, I joined the Marine Corps. And I was always like coming up with little schemes. We'll call them schemes, right? I didn't know. It's how I could make money off people. But I didn't really get into this concept of entrepreneurship until way later. So I went and got a master's degree in sports medicine. And part through that program, I was like, this just isn't my life. And everywhere I'd gone before, I was fixing people's things. So I'd always have these crazy ideas, and I'd fix it. And I read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It is what it is. And I was like, I'm capable of doing something. And so I had two ideas when I was going through school. One was in the fitness world, and the other one was in the health, eating better. So I was huge into meal planning, still am. But and I was exercising all the time, and I was like, the hardest part of exercising is coming back. So this was like 2010. And I was like, how can I create a program that encourages people coming back? And if you know the term now, it's called gamification. Back in 2010, it wasn't really a word. There was like 8 people talking about it. And so we had nothing. Like the resources that I needed at the time were massive, but I didn't know. Like most entrepreneurs, you just dive into it and you go for it. And so I was learning video editing, web development, like how do you rent a space for free? Like what can you do for people? And so I had everything set up. Like we were filming in my garage, we painted it, and then we got a studio and like things were going. And we couldn't take credit card payment. So it was like 2011. And it's not as easy as it is now. Like nothing as easy as it is now. And so like our videos were ugly. The website was ugly, couldn't take payment. So we spent a couple years on that project. And I was like, this just isn't working. I keep pushing and pushing. It's just not working. So fortunately I got lucky and got into online marketing. And again, I didn't know that was called entrepreneurship. I just had this idea.
Yeah.
And I got into online marketing, did that for a couple of years. And I was like, I'm not good at this business stuff. I like the idea of business. And then I came to the University of Utah. Then that's when I learned what entrepreneurship was as a school of thought as well as an execution. And so worked on my next company then. And during that time, I ran a seed fund. So helping other companies get small increments of cash. And I was like, I love this. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, there's something unique about, and I think like being in the military, you're there to accomplish a mission. And I think entrepreneurs have that, like, it doesn't matter. Like, I got to focus and get this thing done. And I think that's why it's been appealing to me.
That is what entrepreneurship is. I feel like, nowadays everyone sees it as like the sexy, driving a Ferrari, a bunch of cash. But a lot of us just started off like doing like lemonade stands and selling stuff at the end of our driveway, doing eBay, whatever the case may be. And we just found out that we love business.
Right.
And Yeah.
When I think that there's this concept that people don't really see is this value creation, right? And this exchange of cash. Like I don't like asking people for money. Like I think it's like it's humbling and humiliating to be like, I need money from. But when there's this really positive exchange of value, and which is cash, there's this moment that I don't know, like I think you appreciate customers more when you like, hey, that's $500, and they're like, yes, it is. There's that moment that you've both created equal value to one another, and I think that's like there's something priceless about that moment, and we take it for granted. eBay or like e-commerce, we don't see the customer, but I think that I don't know, that's what I like.
Yeah, I totally agree. And with that, if you're not getting some kind of reward for doing even if it is a passion of yours, you're going to get burnt out because there's no like exchange, like you said. And even though people want to do these for your hobby, you also need to pay your bills, and you don't want to go out and have to like work in fast food so you can support your art or whatever passion.
There's nothing wrong with that, though.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it as you transition, but why wouldn't you want to get paid for doing something you love?
Well, and like especially like in the art case, and people who are trying to sell a service, they just don't value it for the consumer. I mean, think about like how awesome would it be to have a clean house? Like, is it worth $20 or is it worth 6 hours of your time? Yeah. Like, I don't know, an exchange there that's worth doing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I totally get that, and I feel like business should be more integrated into the art community, because a lot of people see it as like selling out. I'm like, it's not selling out if you're able to support yourself on something you truly love.
Oh, absolutely. And we see that all the time too in just the businesses that I work with, service industries in general, like people who teach sales or podcasting or whatever, they don't realize the value of their time. And I think that it's a hard thing to exchange, because I love sharing information, right? And I think the majority of people who are entrepreneurs love sharing their knowledge with people, but they're like, man, I got to get paid. Yeah. And then like that's where this conflict comes in. Like, I could help you for free, or you could pay me $1,000, and you're like, you're torn.
This goes into what I already mentioned, but what is your thought on entrepreneurship now versus like 10 years ago, and how everyone's like the fake entrepreneurship or I'm sure you've seen the YouTube ads where it's like, I'll teach you how to make $1,000 overnight, drop shipping, kind of stuff.
So it's interesting because so when you think of entrepreneurship, right, you think like you have to be a software developer, right? You don't think of it as a person who's making money, right? Selling lemonade or whatever. But like people don't realize like building something's easy. Anybody can build a lemonade stand. Go to Home Depot, 8 2x4s or whatever, and you've got a lemonade stand. To sell the lemonade is a completely different mentality. I think that we're naturally creative. We want to build stuff. But to get paid from somebody is a completely like, hey, let me get your lemonade, and you're like, that's $5. And you're like, why is it $5? And then that becomes like this conflict, And I don't think a lot of people, that doesn't sit with people very well, especially people who would like to build things. Uh-huh. And so you get you mentioned the fake people. The fake people tend to just keep building. I would say the person who keeps building is a little bit further down the pipeline, but you have that other group of people like, I want to start a company, but they just never even take the first step of, like build a prototype. Let me try whatever it is that you're trying to do, or, whatever. And I think that those people we'll always have those, but those are the people who fall subject to, the gurus online. They're looking at it as a pure, like, I need to make more money versus, hey, like, how can I create value for Cameron today, right? Like, how does that happen? Like, I need lemonade. I'm thirsty. And you're like, here, $5. And you're like, done, right? Like, that's a completely different. It takes a lot of practice, a lot of time to see that there's an exchange in value.
That's an excellent thought. I know this one guy who collects golf balls out of like the ponds at the golf courses and recycles them, and he's able to make millions of dollars. But young teenagers would think that it's not glamorous because you can't really, Instagram about it. It's super unsexy, yet he's making tons of money, a lot more money than most people who are trying to do the the cool thing.
Well, and glamour is such a huge issue now, right?